Lesson tonight is about the old man and the song leader. You can, as the older I get, the old man gets younger and younger. But this is uh, this is a story about a congregation much like this one, and there was a lectureship going on, and this is about 20 years ago. And for this lectureship, there was a young man about the age of 25 that had been asked to lead singing. Not just any singing, but Sunday morning singing at the lectureship. That's a big deal if you lead Sunday morning at the lectureship because all the preachers are there, and you really don't want to make a fool of yourself when you're up here. It was very daunting in and of itself, but at this particular service, there was going to be a very special guest. This guest was a gentleman. He was about 80 years old. And now, if you've been to our lectureship or any lectureship, having someone that's 80 years old is not that uncommon at a lectureship. But what was so special about this man was he had graduated at a very young age from Juilliard. He was an amazing singer. He was an amazing musician, but as a singer, his voice, even at 80, was just couldn't compare with it. And this young song leader that was going to sing wanted nothing more than this man to hear him sing and just give him a compliment afterwards, just to say, you know what, that was great, or maybe even that wasn't totally horrible. Yeah, anything would have done for this young man. He just wanted a positive word. You see, singing had never been the favorite thing that he did. He still feels a little self-conscious when he sings, a little worried when he sings. He'd much rather get up and preach than sing. If he could have this man, this accomplished singer, tell him he did well, done and dusted, he knew he'd be good to go. He had received compliments before, but if this man, this professional singer, would tell him that he was good, he'd know, I made it. I got it. I have this. So, as the service started, the young man led the singing, and boy, he went after it. He was singing, he was going at it, everything was going well. He even had the hand motions down, didn't get off, which was amazing in and of itself. And periodically, as he would sing, he would look out to the old man to see if the man was giving him the nod. When things are going well, you get a little nod, or if the man looked engaged at all, he just kept kind of peeking over there to see. After the services, many people came up to the young man, as they often do, and told him he did a great job. Great job. Great job. And he appreciated that. But he was waiting. There was one he was waiting for. He was waiting for this older gentleman to come up to see what he had to say about his singing. And so the people were telling him thank you, and he was very appreciative, but he kept kind of looking, where's this guy at? And then all of a sudden, a younger man approached the song leader. Great job. Great job with your songs. I really appreciated it. And he said, I would like to introduce you to my grandfather. Guy. It was the guy. And so the young song leader tried to play it cool. Said, oh, I'd love to. Yes, I'd love to meet you. This is your grandfather? I didn't know that. Thank you. I'd like to meet him. And so as the older gentleman approached, the introductions were made, and the young man, not wanting to sound, proud, not wanting to sound, too full of himself, did as we often do and tried to downplay it. He said, pleasure to meet you. Actually, I felt like my singing wasn't great today. I was a little off key. And the older man looked him right in the eye and smiled and said, "That's right." The young man was taken aback, completely devastated. Like, he thought, how can anyone say that straight to my face and smile when he says it? Like, what kind of monster are you? He was crushed. I mean, he could have said, like, well, you weren't that far off key. I've heard worse. Anything other than that's right, and smile at him. Now, the grandson was standing right there. And when he saw what his grandfather had said, he yelled at him and said, "Grandpa!" Well, maybe not that loud. That may be a bit more dramatic. But he did loudly say, "Grandpa, did you hear what he said? He said he was off key. He can't sing well." And the older man replied, "Well, that's impossible. If he were off key, if he sounded horrible, I'd have just left the auditorium." Now the young man was really confused because he's like, one minute, I can't sing, and he's laughing in my face, and the next minute he says, I'm a great singer. So he was just in all sorts of confusion. And the grandson leaned towards the young man and said, see, he's hard of hearing, and he forgot his hearing aid today. When you sang, because it was amplified, he could hear you. But in general conversation, he couldn't hear what you said, and sometimes that makes him nervous when he can't understand. So he just smiles and says, yeah, or that's right, or something, because he figures whatever they're saying probably should just agree with. He feels self-conscious, so he just said, that's right. At that moment, the young man understood and learned 3 valuable lessons that I want to share with you today. Lesson number 1, don't be too quick to judge others. If that young man would have gone with his initial thought and just walked away, he would have spent the rest of his life thinking that was probably one of the rudest men he'd ever met. He didn't know the circumstances that older gentleman was going through. Matthew chapter 7, it says, judge not, lest ye be judged. And the way that you judge others is the way that you're going to be judged. If the golden rule says, do unto others as I would have them do unto me, I don't want someone to make a snap judgment about me if I happen to be having a bad day. Same thing for us, and especially as Christians. We should be the loving embodiment of Christ himself. So let's not be too big of a hurry to judge other people, even when the situation we think, wow, that was really bad. Take a moment, step back, and see what the circumstances were around that situation, around that comment, before I just blow up. The second thing that the young man learned that day was, even though he really wanted that older gentleman's opinion, he wanted the approval of that older gentleman, he came to realize after the whole thing was done that the real approval he needed was God. You're not what other people say you are. You are what God knows that you are. In Isaiah chapter 54, when we read, it says, no weapon fashioned against us will stand. That weapon could be a comment. That weapon could be a harsh reaction. That weapon can often be inside my own head. You're not what your thoughts often say you are, because the devil is very good at convincing us internally, maybe I'm not good enough to do this. Maybe I'm not strong enough to do that. But the young man that day learned, even if he wouldn't have got that older man's approval, he had God's approval. He was trying to do what was right. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 25 to 26 says, many seek the favor of princes. Many seek the favor of those around. We want the approval of everyone around us. We want the Facebook like, the Instagram like, we want the Snapchat follows, whatever that may be. But when it comes down to it, really what we need is the approval from God. And God knows who we are. And the last thing that the young man learned that day was a nod, a hug, a kind word. It goes a long way in encouraging someone. And often the people that give those little nods, that little hug, that little text comment, whatever it is, don't realize the impact they have on the individual that receives it. When I'm at work, many of you know, a few years ago, I dealt with some anxiety. It was tough at work. Trying to hold down a job when you were having trouble breathing was difficult. And I can remember Christine Hastings was there, and she would just comment every once in a while, "You doing okay? You doing okay?" And there wasn't a whole lot she could do, but just that comment that said, "You doing okay?" And I knew someone was there. Oh, Kim Mygett works in my office now. I can guarantee you at least once every couple weeks, I'm going to get a text. And it's going to be something like this. "Hey, girl," but not girl. "You know what? You are so awesome. Don't let those patients get you down. You can do this. Have a great day." And be something like that. And it's just a little comment like that. But I tell you what, when I get it, it makes me smile. It makes my day better. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 24 says, "Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones." We're about to go out for the rest of this week, at least till Wednesday, when we get back together. We're going to have to deal with a whole lot of stuff. And a whole lot of people that maybe aren't the kindest in the world. And definitely a whole lot of people that aren't Christian. But as we go through that, let's remember, don't judge too fast. Listen to who God knows you are, not what other people say you are. And share a little positivity right in someone else's life. It worked for the young song leader. He made it. He'll still get up and sing songs every now and then. And it can work for each one of us. We can help you with that. We'd ask you to come forward as we stand and sing the song of invitation.